All right, team. Yellow piece of paper. We're thinking about the yellow set. So remember, the complicated thing about this internal is that it's assessed in multiple sections: Part A, Part B, Part C, and Part D. Obviously, I want to give you guys multiple practices, but I then need to make sure that. Sorry. All right. Sorry. Radio. So I have color coded the paper so that way we can keep track of the sets. So yellow set is the one that is using sodium hydroxide testing for the lactic acid in sour cream. And so all the yellow pieces of paper tied to that experiment. All of the blue pieces of paper is the practice version. In that set, we are doing sodium hydroxide at a slightly different concentration, and you are measuring the lactic acid in buttermilk. I think it's lactic acid. Yeah, it's lactic acid in buttermilk. And then for the assessment, you guys, that one's tying together with sodium hydroxide and ethanoic acid and vinegar. So those are the sets that we're looking at, 3 separate sets. So this is the teaching set. All right. Golden piece of paper is going to be my notes. This is exactly the same as your yellow piece of paper. Sorry, your pale yellow. So basically, I'm going to do an example calculation on the golden paper. I want you to write on the golden paper with my data. And then you guys will be able to do the calculation with the light pale yellow paper. And I have some practice questions that you'll be able to do as well. All right, cool. First off, on this piece of paper, I want to note that I've given you guys a space to write about your accuracy improving techniques. It's mainly just to make a list. It's something to do while you're doing your titration, just to kind of keep track, so that way you can use it in part B. Or sorry, part D. So this is just here to help you with part D. Just as a reminder, on our marking schedule, for part D, the achieved, I need you to describe accuracy improving techniques like removing the funnel before reading the burette. For the merit, you need to explain why you've removed the funnel before reading the burette, so the little drops of base doesn't fall after I read it and then change my volume of base. Okay? So just keep in mind what you're doing in part C does tie into part D. So I've given you a little space here if you want to jot down while you're working. Okay, I've made sure to remove my funnel. I made sure to check for air bubbles, that sort of shebang. Let's talk about calculations. All right, so here is my data. There are 2 things you need to check for when it comes to your data. The first thing is that you have concordant values. Your range of whatever you're averaging should be a 0.3 milliliters. So the lowest and the highest value should be within 0.3 of each other. You need it to be within 0.3 if you want to get merit or excellence. If you are giving me crap data, then you're going to get achieved. Got it? Okay. So that's the first thing that we need to think about. So I'm going to write for your range. And that's what you need for merit. I don't know if the color is going to show up. Or excellence. Won't give you merit or excellence if you have all your data. So when I'm looking at this guy over here, I obviously want to exclude this 15 because that is way bigger than my other 4 data points. So I'm getting rid of that one. Okay, and not a surprise that I'm getting rid of that one because that was my rough titration. If you have a good rough titration that fits within the range, you are more than welcome to average it. But this one obviously is not. The next thing I'm going to look at is my highest and my lowest values to see what is the range here. So my highest value is 13.9 and my lowest value is 13.6. Sorry, 13.65. So let's do the math. 13.9 minus 13.65. I have a range of 2.5. So all of these values are fine for me to use. If you do not have a range that's within 0.3, you need to eliminate one of them. You are eliminating either the highest or the lowest number to then fix your range. Does that make sense? All right. If not 0.3 millimeter range, eliminate highest or lowest value. And this was similar to what you guys did in part B. If you don't, you will get dropped down to an achieved. All right, let's add these guys together. I had 13.8, I had 13.9, I had 13.7, I had 13.65. Add all these values together. All right, make sure you hit the equal sign and then divide, because we don't want to just divide the last one. We want to divide all of them. All right, so divide by 4. I get 13.7625. I do want it in 3 significant figures. So if I was doing 3 significant figures, I'd have 1, 2, and then that's 3. So I would write 13 point, and in this case, it's a 6, so I round up to 8 milliliters. Are we okay with that so far? Okay. Some things to keep in mind as well when you're writing your data in your table, 2 decimal places, because you can accurately read the burette to 2 decimal places. So even if it's like 30.1, add the 0 at the back. Okay. If you think the meniscus is between 2 lines, then it's 6.5. Or sorry, then it ends in 5. Cool. All right. Now, when it comes to the so this here is the precision. This number is how I'm going to mark you for accuracy. You need to be plus or minus 0.4 milliliters from my answer to be marked at merit or excellence. So the lower range, 13.8 minus 0.4 is 13.4 is the lowest what I would accept. And then at the highest, I would be accepting 14.2. That is the range that I will accept for merit and excellence. If your number is outside of that, you are getting an achieved because you are not titrating well. Okay. I'll probably be a bit generous and I'll use the unrounded number when I'm marking it. So that way you have a little bit more leeway because I did round up. Are we okay so far? Okay. Next step here is I need to take the average titrate volume that's calculated. Using the concentration of the known sodium hydroxide, I need to figure out the amount of the sodium hydroxide in my flask. So concentration is equal to N divided by V. If I want to rearrange this equation, it is N equals C times V. Are we okay with my rearranging? We've seen this a few times. Keep going. Okay. So concentration is 0.1 moles per liter. And I'm multiplying by the volume that I have here, but I need to convert that into liters. So we're dividing it by 1,000. So we should have 13.1. There we go. 0.138, and that's my liters. Liters and liters cancel out. I'm ready to go. Let's do that. Times it by 0.1. Then I have my amount is equal to 0.00138 moles. We okay? Questions, concerns, comments? No? Keep going. Okay. All right. Then we do our stoichiometry. We're looking at our ratios like we've done in enthalpy. So we look to see for my base, there's a 1. For my acid, no number in front, it's a 1. So it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So since it's a 1-to-1 ratio, the amount of acid is the same as the amount of base. So the amount of my lactic acid is the same number. And if you guys remember in part B, if the ratio wasn't the same number, then you would be doing some dividing or multiplying to fix the ratio. All right? So if this was a 1-to-2 ratio, I would be multiplying by 2. If this was 2-to-1 ratio, I would be dividing by 2. Are we okay with that? Okay. If you're not sure, go watch part B videos. All right, last step is to figure out my concentration. So concentration equals the amount divided by volume. In this case, we want to think about the volume of lactic acid we used. We used a 10 ml pipette. So that's the volume I want to use. So I have C equals 0.00138 moles. I divide it by the pipette in liters. So we take that 10 mils and we divide it by 1,000. So I get 0.01 liters and 0.00138 divided by 0.1. There we go. My concentration is 0.138 moles per liter. And again, this place we want to do 3 significant figures and our units. A rundown on how the points work for this section. Excellence is getting me this answer, and these 2 values have 3 significant figures and their units. A merit is getting the right answer, but not doing 3 significant figures or not having our units. So it's a really silly thing to mess up. So E is your answer with 3 sig figs and units. M is answer without the 3 sig figs or units. Just say and or. Okay. It's a really silly distinction between the 2 grades. Most people get excellence, and if you get merit, it's because you've made a silly mistake. For the achieved, I am looking to see if one step of your calculation is correct. Actually, let me grab my marking schedule. So for achieved, I need to see that you have data collected. I need a data and an average. In that case, it doesn't need to be concordant values. Let's see. Yep, that's all I need for the achieved. I can also use this as evidence in case you muck up part B as ability to do this calculation. So it's a backup to part B. But I don't think anyone's gotten a not achieved on that, so you're all fine. Cool? Questions, concerns, comments? Anything you want me to move so you can see it better? All right, I will pass out your practice questions. So your practice questions are the exact same. The only thing is I've given you the data. So that way you guys can do it at home. You don't have to worry about doing the practical bit. Friday, I'll give you guys another solution for you to test. The nice thing about the practice questions is I put each one on their own piece of paper, rip it apart, and hand them to me separately. You don't have to hand them the whole packet. Make sure you're doing that because I can use this as extra evidence. Right. Make sure chairs are up and windows are closed. I do apologize. I'm gonna scan it, but yeah. Okay. Careful, what did you just knock over? Almost on. Julia. Yes. I'll show you what I did with mine. I went to the hot floors. I have these like one-on-one conversations to talk about like Canva, and then get a priority list of what I work on.
Do you have listened to it?
I know that issue, but because I was tinkering with it, I fixed it because I realized stuff was wrong.
What are both? Stella, it's you.
Oh, what's the app that you use for your webcam? Because I used to have the people one.
Oh, I hate that one.
And I just
It's
not
a
working.
normal camera. Hey, normal camera.
Can you do that?
Yeah, I'll show you. What happened?
They always do ape shit like at this time of the day.
So I just opened the camera app, and usually it'll be set to the webcam first, and then you click on that, and then it switches it to the dock camera.
Oh, that's so easy.
Yeah, I found this was way better than
Yeah,
the.
the APV one is a bit of a pain.
Yeah, well, it kept lagging,
Yeah.
and then when I record it through another software. But the nice thing about the recording is that it's recording my whole screen, so like when I move off the document camera,
Yeah.
I can also like show web pages and stuff.
Nice. May I use your dock camera sometimes?
Yeah, I don't mind. As long as I don't need it for my teaching.
Yeah.